All right, kia ora, everyone. It is Nathan Rose here in beautiful Auckland, New Zealand. I am joined by the one and only Isaac Missingham. For those of you who don't know him, Isaac is the ALM guy. He works at Whānau at the moment. He is a Power Platform guru. He's really big into all things ALM, and he gave an amazing demo at the Global Power Platform Bootcamp a few weeks ago, and I was so excited about it. I mean, at the start of it, I was like, here's my MVP. Like, it's yours, man. It was one of the most amazing demos that I've seen. But I'm really excited that yeah, you've taken the time to have a chat and take us through the demo. So yeah, Isaac, over to you, man. If you want to share your screen and take us through what you've got to show us today.
Yeah, I'll quickly do. Prepare to be disappointed, by the way, everybody. But I'll
Don't
quickly
believe him. Don't believe him. It's amazing.
blast through my slides just to get a little bit of context. There's
Yep.
some stuff that I'll probably skip over in terms of scene setting and history, but there are some really critical
Yeah.
elements that I do want to
Cool.
show
Yeah.
just
Now
in
just take
terms
us through
of
it, man.
solutions. So there's my slides down there, and I can see over here. Cool.
All
So
right.
yeah, shameless reuse of slides, by the way.
Yep.
I
If you didn't
also
go to the Power Platform Bootcamp, you missed out, but definitely go next year.
definitely go next year. And also for all our viewers at home, check how I changed the little PVA icon to the Copilot icon. I was
Nice.
one step ahead of
Nice.
everybody, and everybody on the day didn't notice. So there you go. That's our attention to
Yep.
detail. So as Nathan said, my name is Isaac Missingham. I'm the head of engineering for digital at Whānau. I love fishing and hazy beers and ramen and all those good things. I'm not an MVP, so I've got a bit
Yet.
of an
Yet.
inferiority complex. Yeah, yet. So, but I do claim power champion, so that's my one
Nice.
thing.
Nice.
We did have Sligo, but
Pro tip, there is a little tiny cafe around the corner from my house called Nemo Box. It's down here in Drury. I'm told the spicy ramen is amazing. The portions are a little small, but it is amazing. So if you're down this way, shout out for Nemo Box. Their spicy ramen is the bomb.
and if you're in Auckland, and if you're not too elitist, like there are some real ramen elitists out there.
Yeah.
Daikoku Ramen, just down by Britomart train station. It's like a dingy little place, and the dude who runs it is 700 years old. He's the same guy who's been there the whole time I've been there for the last 10 years or so. He does legendary work. Anyway,
Nice. On with the show.
on with the show. So I won't spend too much time on these history slides, but the theme of my demonstration is very much finding the right use case and remembering the history of where AI has been and people's understanding of AI over the years. So for me, AI began when I started playing Xbox as a very young kid, and I saw when I played Halo, the original Halo Combat Evolved, for those who are into video games, and a Marine accidentally shot another Marine in the game, and then the guy who got shot said, ouch, and then the guy who shot him said, my bad, and I just thought, this is it. There is no greater AI. It doesn't top that shit.
Yep.
Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss, but anyway.
Doesn't bother me. So wordy dirts are all good.
Wordy dirts. So the moral of that story is artificial intelligence has been around for a long time. And originally it was pioneered a lot by video games, where you were constantly thinking of how to make the computer artificially intelligent to be able to compete with you and, general theory and difficulty and things. So this isn't new. In the 2010s, deep learning really took off, and we started feeding massive amounts of data into these models, but we had to tell it exactly what each thing was. So thanks reCAPTCHA and all those technologies, we were just pumping huge amounts of data and then really being involved in telling it what it should and shouldn't do. And then we hit that was machine learning. And then deep learning is when we started to use neural networks and layering to be able to add some depth. And then the model was able to start to figure some things out. It's on its own, make some inferences and things like that. And then generative AI, generative AI is kind of just the next level of deep learning, but it's the large language models that make it really crazy. So
yep.
it's the nuanced reasoning, it's the ability to understand you and communicate with you in a way that exercises critical thinking and all that kind of thing. So here we are in the 2020s. But if we remember back to when all the banks decided they were going to have personal assistants or very, very freaky looking ladies that were kind of in that uncanny valley level of looked kind of realistic, but your brain was like, something ain't right.
Yep.
And these are all from around the time of 2014 to 2016.
Yep.
They represented a time when we really thought AI was the future back then in 2016. And the really key emphasis on all of these is that understanding of your use case. When should I use it? What's my understanding of the problem? And all of these options from especially, the banks, and then obviously Oscar, as I said
Yep.
on the day in the room, nobody's ever used Oscar. In the
God,
presentation,
no.
I said, put your hand up if you've ever engaged with Oscar. Everybody, not one person raised their hand.
Yep.
So
First thing you do on the Air New Zealand website is tell Oscar to go away.
yeah,
And
exactly.
then you
So
grab a seat.
exactly. So they represent interesting uses of AI, and especially chat. So that kind of conversational engagement with AI, something that learns from lots and lots of data and then is able to respond in a particular way. But perhaps they were ahead of their time. They were largely just a fad chasing exercise. They really, none of them are around anymore, of course, because for me to find these, I had to go onto archive.org and all that kind of thing. But we've been here before with chatbots, and the key thing, so if I go to the next slide, is this is what we're reduced to now. Lots of annoying little guys on websites that try to talk to you. And this history is really important when you're thinking about the use of AI. So now Microsoft has rebranded Power Virtual Agents to Copilot. Copilot is still just a Power Virtual Agent. It's still a little bot on a page. But there's so much more we can do in Microsoft's same ecosystem. They call, the Copilot Suite or AI or Prompt Builder, whatever you want to call it. It can all create great experiences that don't have to be like this. So remembering that people are resistant to bots, they're resistant to pop-ups, they're resistant to chat because they don't trust it. It was a great, like some of the technological solutions that people came up with back in the day were ingenious. They were really talented people that came up with the things you see on the screen, but they just, we were trying to give technology to a problem rather than letting a problem guide our technology. And so that's a really key
Yep.
bit. So I'll ignore that.
Yeah. One of the things that Mark Smith and Anna Welch and Andrew Welch and everyone on a recent ecosystems podcast said was you really have to learn to fall in love with the problem. And so that's a great way of putting it is let the problem guide the solution. So
Absolutely. And of course, that's
yeah.
what, we're always trying to tell to our engineering teams. I have this conversation a lot. A
Yep.
new feature comes out and everybody's like, heck yeah, let's do it. Let's try and find a way to incorporate it.
Yep.
And this demonstration is kind of like that, but it's meeting people where they're at. It's those subtle inclusions of powerful technology to help them buy in.
And
And
that's why I
that's
loved it so much. I mean, I was blown away by it. So anyways, I'll let
So
you
we'll see.
continue.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
now that was the paradigm from about 2016 to 2019. In 2018, I'm going to name drop Mr. Sean Anderson, who is an extremely talented, very, very smart engineer. He's a director of engineering at Jarden at the moment. But he was following the first GPT-1. I remember him saying in GPT-1 and GPT-2, when they released in 2018 and 2019, he was telling me about it. And I was going, yeah. Statistics nerds and AI nerds and data nerds, they're all into this. But I think something happened when Satya Nadella, who was clearly very, very clever, invested $1 billion when ChatGPT came out into OpenAI in 2019. And then in 2022, ChatGPT comes out, which is the manifestation, the sort of productization of these GPT models.
Yep.
And suddenly AI is back, baby. We're back in. Everybody's forgotten about Google. Google's freaking out. And we remembered that, or we forgot, for those who are so techie and more trusting, how terrible all of the previous chatbots we'd engaged with were. And we got into ChatGPT. So,
Don't we love it?
and we do love it. And now everybody uses it all the time. And
Yep.
this is a really interesting paradigm shift. So then, naturally, 3 months later, outstanding move, said all Microsoft shareholders. Microsoft comes out with Bing Chat, which now is Copilot, and that gave everybody access to ChatGPT-4, which was a really, at the time, compelling move. In my little screenshot, I sort of exemplify that now Microsoft is really bashing us with chats to engage with
Yep.
Windows, with Edge, with our model-driven apps in the Power Platform space.
Yep.
But
It's powerful stuff. I mean, pro tip, and I nicked this from Mark, but before any pre-sales engagement, I've been asked, when you go into a company or an industry you're not familiar with, yes, Bing Chat to summarize it for you, and you can talk knowledgeably about it within about 10 minutes. It's amazing. So,
True,
yeah,
and it is in for anyone on the latest Windows 11 version. It is in your taskbar now, so it is really accessible.
yep,
But it is in 100 places. But we forgive you, Microsoft, because we're going to talk about how to use it in a better way. But Power Platform has had these things around for a while. Mr. Anderson again was very big into the natural language query, the Power BI natural language queries, which came out in 2020. And that was really powerful. Query your data with words, and that's been around for a couple of years before ChatGPT.
yeah,
So Power Platform has been ahead of the trend as usual, and we're just now seeing that explosion of generative AI. So of course, it's really
obligatory marketing slide.
yes, obligatory marketing slide. It's made
Yep,
a big difference. It makes a big difference for us as an organization, especially using GitHub Copilot. We use it to, I'll show a bit later in the presentation, but the summarization of things like RFP documents, of things like internal documentation, it really does make things faster. But for us, we're a tech shop. We pump out code faster. That is the bottom line. And so, what an amazing set of technology we've come across.
yeah, yeah. Great story there.
So, what this is a key slide that I'll emphasize. So that I love this. This is stolen from Microsoft as well, shamelessly, but I really do like this idea of the paradigm shift. And the key bit, so obviously, as we've spoken about, natural language interaction is one of those key shifts. It's that the fact that you can now talk to a system. But for those who have used Copilot and model-driven apps, or they've used some of the chatbots that are more catered, you'll realize the limitations of that. Mix that in with the lack of trust that people present from the
Yep.
2016 to 2019 era. And I think that while I like that paradigm shift, and it certainly is on the way there, most people aren't ready for that yet. So what I wanted to focus on is that circle. Oh, my screen is really orange, isn't it? Hold on, let me get rid of that. There you go. Sorry, it's because I'm trying to protect my eyeballs.
It's all right, man.
That paradigm shift is these bottom two that I really like. So data-driven, personalized experiences. So that one is just absolutely what I'm going to be spending a lot of time showing today. And it's that before the application, if you were trying to cater for every single thing, you had a lot of cost, you had a lot of development time, you had a lot of effort to make something that seemed or was otherwise looking like it was trying to cater to you. But now with
Yep,
generative AI, because you can effectively get a system to reason for you, you can
yep,
really truly create these personalized data-driven experiences. And then, of
yeah,
course,
100%.
delivering new features quickly. That's kind of inherent in the Power Platform.
Yep,
I'll
yep.
show some of that in the demonstration.
Yeah, but this is the data-driven personalized experiences. That's just what blew my mind because again, you've got people interacting with these apps, and instead of having to talk to a chatbot, they do what they normally do, but you've made the app n times more intelligent and more powerful behind the scenes, and everybody's getting a better experience. And it's just, yeah. I'll shut up now. On with the show. I'm excited
100%.
about this. I've seen this before, and um, yeah,
And I guess the key thing that I'll emphasize again with that data-driven personalized experiences is you can introduce it in a way that tech-resistant customers and tech-resistant organizations don't mind.
yep,
It's not hitting them with that chatbot. It's not a new gimmick. It's just little things that you use generative AI to deliver to.
yep,
So another really critical thing that I'll be talking about today is you think your solution is unique. Every engineer wants to think that their solution is unique, but it's not. Microsoft is dedicating a lot of people and a lot of money to lots and lots of copilots. You can see in the wheel here.
yep.
It really is. If you've thought about it and it's generic enough, Microsoft, if they haven't already delivered it, they're on their way
There's an
there.
app for that, or there's
There's
a
an app for that.
Copilot for that. Yep.
There's a copilot for that. That is literally it. And so how does that emphasize what you want to do? For us, especially in the Power Platform space in this low code, no code world, it emphasizes knowing your scenario, coming all the way back to those chatbots, understanding that problem and making sure you're thinking about using these tools and these various elements that make up the platform in a way that is a little bit bespoke. Because, for example, the Copilot and model-driven apps, man, that's going to be able to do a lot of stuff for you very soon. But
Yep.
for those little things, those nuances, so let's say like in health, We have mental health reporting with primed reporting. That's very bespoke. It's very particular. The documentation is very particular. So if you were to create a model, for example, around having Bing just look at these particular sites or, things like that,
Yep.
little, very specific, leveraging your own data, especially for big organizations where they have lots of silly acronyms and all those types of things. Extend intelligently, optimize how quickly you can deliver value, and assume Microsoft is doing it if it's important enough. So that's just a key thing when you're thinking about solutions in this space. And so this slide, I'm going to swap in and out of it, but this slide is a breakdown of how I sort of see AI in the Power Platform world. And it's not architecturally correct, but this is kind of like a conceptual diagram. So at the very left, you have your data. And for us, data, especially given the power of Power Automate and custom connectors and all those great things, can be anything. It can be your Dataverse tables, which for a lot of us will be where most of our data is. It could be SQL you have on-prem that's through an on-premise gateway. You could have numerous APIs across the world, whether that be weather, whether that be, you can do that through connectors, of course, but let's say you have an internal API or something like that. There's so many things. This data, that data yellow bit sort of represents this idea that it all starts with your data. So that, as Sean Anderson would always say, there's a bunch of preparation that may have to go into your data, how you collate and present and bring that together in a way that's meaningful for a generative model is the important first step. Then again, like I said, with flows and connectors, that's the glue. That brings everything together. So you can see lots of arrows there.
Yep.
Then,
and if we could just do a quick aside, so a lot of organizations are going to come in and say, turn on the copilots, let's go. If you have not sorted out your data, you are just going to get bad data faster. So key first step, make sure your data is in good shape before you turn on the copilots.
100%. And even turning on the copilots is risky business right now, because if a big chatbot turns up on the side of your model-driven app, if you're an ISV or you're in a big organization, people are going to be like, what? How did this change get through? So be careful of those things. But yeah, absolutely. Data is where it all starts. So start thinking about your data. That's why it's on the far left. Then the magic of prompting. So this, as Microsoft is now, they've pulled it out of AI Builder. It's its own thing now, AI prompts. That is some real magic stuff going on. And I've put an arrow there to articulate that it is, of course, talking to Azure OpenAI. It's all abstracted away if you're just engaging with prompts, but you can extend, you could create your own model. And so that model bit is the really key thing. So you're engineering a bunch of prompts. So Power Platform is prompt engineering, baby. It's all in there. It's all easy. Prompt engineering is that key green bit at the top there, and that's all enabled and connected through Power Automate. And then that links all the way back down the bottom there. We have our model-driven / Canvas apps, customizations through PCF potentially, TypeScript, JavaScript, however you do it. And that starts to create great experiences and create happy people, as we see in our little smiley dude there. Through low-code plugins, through pro-code plugins, you have just as much extensibility and customization, which we'll also show today. And then, of course, if you want, you can create your own Copilot. That links straight into the model. It can link to your plugins. It goes straight in your model-driven or Canvas app natively, and you can use that to create experiences if you like, but we're not going to be focusing on that. But these are sort of those key elements between Power Automate, your data, where your data is coming from, prompts in AI Builder, and then the typical extensibility options of model-driven / Dataverse solutions with plugins and front-end customization to create great experiences.
And my love language, low-code plugins.
Yes, exactly. So I even managed to find the specific icons that I use in the Dataverse Accelerator app. So yeah, prompt engineering is no longer, it's a low-code thing now. And it pretty much doesn't get any lower code than prompt engineering. And that's what we're going to show today. So I'll skip over my Slido here. And I just want us all to remember our man Clippy here, because Clippy was way ahead of his time. He is where we are now. And we're going to show how you can use generative AI to create great experiences with something like Clippy. So I'm going to change over my screen.
All right, everybody watching at home, get ready. Your socks are going to be blown off. This was the highlight of Power Platform Bootcamp for me. This was There were some amazing demos, but this one just absolutely blew me away. So
So we're gonna take ourselves on a journey, and I'm gonna zoom in a little bit just because I'm on a 4K screen, which never helps with these presentations. But on the left, you'll sort of see we're following down a journey. So I'm going to hide it away, but we can see we're on a journey today. And when we come back to use case, and when I mentioned these inoffensive uses of Power Platform, sorry, of AI.
yep,
One of those key things that I loved, and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh my God, man, this is so helpful!" And it immediately brought me in, and I was like, "Come on, Amazon, keep coming with these little funny things."
yeah,
Is this ingenious use of summarization, the summarization capability of AI models, and that data processing power of the big models from Azure OpenAI and the AI prompts in the Power Platform, which of course are all abstracts it all away, is that crunching. That
yep,
here is an analysis of that thing. And Amazon came out with this. They haven't got an annoying bot that's in my face. They're hitting me with this, and this is instantly useful. So they've taken 153-ish thousand reviews and made it 3 sentences. And they've
yep,
immediately told me what key things people like and what things people have mentioned, but maybe weren't so important.
yep,
Man, what a great use. This is
yeah,
so inoffensive. It's so easy for people to go. And then, of course, Amazon will need to say, this is driven by AI. You can see down here, AI generated. And
yep,
so, with a resistant user base, with a bunch of people that hate chatbots, all that kind of stuff, man, what
yep,
a great penetration technique.
exactly. Yep. You don't even care that it's AI because you've made my life easier.
Exactly. My life is easier and I have less to think about.
Yep.
Genius. Another one of those cases, which isn't unfortunately working today, is for those who don't know, this is a bit of a plug for Microsoft Clarity. It's a really great product. It's completely free and you can totally embed it in model-driven apps. If you want more info on that, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I love to get people having better analytics on model-driven app. This thing has changed our life. But one of the key things, great things, another really, really inoffensive way. Unfortunately, it's not working, but you can click the
It's all right.
summarize heat maps button at the top right here, and it will give me an analysis. But it doesn't just give me an analysis. It doesn't just summarize. I wish I could show you. It's unfortunate, but it will tell me what common things people are clicking on, but it will also give me insights. It will give me actions to go and investigate following this. So this is now not just summarization, but this idea of going, okay, well, now I'm creating actionable insights. I'm creating that next set of
Yeah.
suggestions that we as a team can go and look at. And
Yep.
again, that's such a powerful and excellent use of AI.
Yeah.
Again, very inoffensive, a little button. It's not trying to talk to me. I
Yep.
click it if I'm curious.
Yep. And you get better apps as a result.
Exactly.
Love it.
And honestly,
Love it.
honestly, Clarity is such a really cool product. Props to Microsoft. It's completely free. You can integrate it with Google Analytics. Give it a go. This is
Nice.
another one that unfortunately, again, isn't working, but here is just a user session, right? So this is a recording of someone using our application. You can click this little generate session insights, and it will give you, rather than me watching 2 hours of this recording, it
Yep.
will give me the pain points. It will give me where they struggled to click. It will tell me exactly what they did, how long they spent, and where there was pain. Really excellent example, again, of just
Yep.
inoffensive, quality,
Yep.
useful AI right away. Super awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. What would be really cool is if you could hook this up to yeah, you get your summaries and then you start generating tickets in ADO for your devs to start working on stuff and taking a look at. That would be next level.
That's a great idea, man. That's we'll get
Yeah.
there, no doubt. So,
Challenge thrown down
yeah,
because I
exactly.
know
So,
you can do it.
wow, I'm going to show that everybody can do it. That's the whole point of today.
Love it.
So,
Love it.
here is I'll do the plug of, so that's kind of useful summarization, and here is natural language driven interaction. So, of course, we all know that you can give a prompt, and Microsoft's products will do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Really, really cool stuff. I won't spend too much time on here, but this is a good example of useful and inoffensive. Again, it is natural language driven, and you can't expect all of your users to know exactly what they want through natural language. I mean, if you're in banking, right, you're trying to do like a credit analysis or something like that, that's going to be really hard for someone to articulate. If you're in
Yep.
health, trying to say, I need this to happen, these are
Yep.
time poor people. So for
Yep.
us as makers, these are great. These are useful. And these are efficiency gains that are great. So, here's a little app I prepared earlier, which was created by that prompt.
Yep.
I tried to get it to do a few things. It's still not there yet, but I managed to change a color here. So, little
Yeah.
things like that. efficiency
Yeah,
gainers, just great boilerplate starting points, gets you going, efficiency. Boom.
100%. That Copilot in the Maker portal saved me heaps of time a couple of weeks ago when I had a couple of demos within 2 days of one another, and it was probably saving me a good, I want to say 15 to 20 minutes per table. So I was banging stuff out way faster than I normally would. So yeah, definitely give that one a go. It is super handy for getting started.
Yes, and definitely this create your own table with
Yep.
Copilot as well. I'll plug that
Oh,
too.
it's
So
crazy.
it's
You put
really good.
in
It's really good.
the table name, the columns, and then you can say create these rows and it just does it. I mean, man, it made my life so much easier.
And this I've actually done another talk before on the democratization of data. Being
Yep.
able to tell Copilot what database table you want means, I always say if your grandma can do it, then it's truly democratized because we've
Yep.
removed all barriers for people to engage with and create data. Man,
Exactly.
this is it. This is it. So these
Yep.
are really powerful things, but they are for makers, right? They're for people who aren't consuming apps. So
Correct.
that's just our little example. The last one, of course, is it's gone because I removed it, but it's the Copilot on the right-hand side. We've turned it off in our application so we don't freak
Yep.
our customers out.
Yep.
But we saw a screenshot of it earlier. Whoops, that's my bad. I should have planned for that.
That's all
So
right.
the
Yeah,
chat on the
it's
right.
Yeah, and it's reasonably useful for doing things that you would traditionally filter for in a model-driven app and say, tell me how many rows are in this
Yeah,
table, that type of
exactly.
thing. Summarize, you can even say sum up the amount column and the rows in this table. It gets confused when you say when you try to give it some attributes and say filter by this or that, and then it starts to say, sorry, Nathan, I'm afraid I can't do that. But it's still early days with it, so.
Yes, I do remember I have another app that I can show on. But yeah, it's still very early days. But coming back to our find your use case, this thing on the right hand side here, it's going to be able to do most of your stuff for you. Tell me about XYZ, let's say number of active times in the system.
And this is stuff that traditionally you had to go to advanced find, or you had to go to the table page in the model driven app and throw a filter together. And we've just queried it with natural language and it's given us the answer, which
It's
is
it's given us an answer.
huge. Yeah.
Whether it's good,
Yeah.
that's up to
Yeah.
you. But
Well, yeah, it's legit. We see we've got 22 active. Yeah, we got rows. We're good.
yeah, that's it.
Bottom
That's
left
all you
hand of your
need.
screen. Yeah.
Yeah, get rid of all the data analysts. This is it.
Yeah.
So yes, but the key is the amount of investment and the time that this will accelerate is going to get faster. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a little bit beta now, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
So then we move into AI prompts. And it's on the left-hand side here. Make sure you pin it and you make a portal. This is where, coming back to that previous uh, thing, going back to my previous slide. So this is really, 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 really key to everything. This guy in the top right here. I don't know what you can see
Yep.
that, but it's the glue, and it is our easy, accessible, fast way of engaging with AI. So I've created some stuff here, but honestly, just go in and have a play around with the pre-configured ones. They all are easy to use. It just gets you an idea of how you can do some basic prompt engineering. There's a whole art to prompt engineering. There is a really great documentation published by OpenAI. But man, if you just want to have playing around, this is a great starting point. So
It's the best way to learn. Go break something.
exactly, go break something. So just to give an example of, so our application is in the health industry, and I'm not going to plug our application or what Whanatahi does, but one of the key bits that plagues the health industry, and a lot of players are thinking about this at the moment, is the summarization of massive case files.
Yep.
And this little example just goes to show how quickly you can come up with something that produces really useful stuff. So I have
Yeah.
one parameter here. It's text. It's basically something that will show in the Power Automate flows, but
Yep.
it also emphasizes just how much detail you have to give in the end.
Yep.
Giving context on your audience, because otherwise the generative model will start saying, make sure you talk to a doctor if
Yep.
you're asking about health information.
Yep.
You can say, this is for doctors, so don't say
Yep.
that. Make
Yep.
sure you strip everything out you don't need, so on, so on. So this must be maybe 10 sentences
Yep.
is all we had to do. And this is like, again, as no code as it gets. We have
Yep.
told the system what to do
Yeah.
with not one line of code, and I just
Yeah.
spoke.
Yeah, but I mean, you say all we had to do. There's a considerable amount of effort that goes into putting these prompts together because I'm sure there's a lot of trial and error and
Yes.
thinking through it and saying, "Oh, we forgot to stipulate that it's New Zealand and it told us it defaulted to the United States or something like that." And so
Right.
there's yeah, I'm guessing there's a fair amount of effort that goes into getting just those 10 sentences. Yeah.
That's true. But I guess the other amazing thing, right, is you can take this to a customer. You can help a customer shape this with you, and
Yep.
there is no barriers of technology anymore. It is
Yeah.
literally just sit with me, make sure I've got all the key points. You can use your natural language that I also understand and the system understands. And that's a really
Love it.
crazy thing.
Love it.
So, how you can use something like that, and this is a really basic example, but this is a Power Apps triggered thing. So, from a Canvas app or another flow or whatever, this instance is just get basically it passes in an individual ID.
Yep.
For that individual ID, we get all the case notes.
Yep.
We put all the case notes together in a loop into
Yep.
a big long string, and we pass it to that.
Prompt.
Prompt,
Yep.
and then we get the response back. It is that simple. I mean,
Wow.
there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps in this flow,
Yep.
and it's oh, man, it's great. And this is
Yeah.
one of those little things, again, summarizing to add value. Of course, we've got our
Yep.
mate on the right here who can also help us continue to change this flow, but it's
Yep.
just one of
Yep.
those things. Then if you want to extend, right, you want to be API driven, you could turn it into a little service. You know, who needs
Yeah.
Azure when I
Yep.
can query, I can make the URL to this Power Automate flow available to any number of other applications. You could have a whole
Yep.
web of little flows performing
Yep.
microservice tasks powered by, again, a really low code, super easy to consume prompt generative model. It is all there, and spit a
Love it.
response back with all of the typical trimmings of writing a proper API. It's really awesome. And
Love
all
it.
it took was writing that natural language, clicking plus, clicking new action, clicking the AI, the GPT model thing, and then telling it which one.
Yep.
It's really great.
It's a
So
thing of
how that
beauty.
manifests is here's just a little example of an individual we passed through.
Yep.
It then went and got all the case notes, so you can see there's a bunch of them.
Yep.
And then it started appending to the string. It passed the string to the model, and then there you go. There's some real magic.
There's our summary.
So there's our summary,
I
and it gives
like
you
it.
everything. Super
I
awesome.
like it. Hours and hours of labor saved through the magic of technology.
Magic of technology, magic of Power Platform. So
Yep.
that's our little example and a little bit of context.
Yep.
How can we apply this? How can we apply this? So here's our example. Don't worry about our application. It's I'm just wanting to show. So I got this is a care plan for those in the health industry. You might have care plans made up of family members, but that's how I want to. I got this massive grid of all these case notes and things that have happened to
Yep.
Wilbur here, and I don't want to. I'd have to open each one up and read through it, and then make sure I understood everything and do all
Yep.
that sort of stuff. Let's skip that. Let's use the power of summarization. So using that existing Power Automate flow that we had before, we can open up the individual. We got this little button here using modern ribbon commands. Case note
Nice.
overview.
PowerFx, my love language.
PowerFX. Well, it's actually JavaScript, but you can use PowerFX.
Yep. You can
Let's
use PowerFx.
excellent on the database accelerator app. Sorry, let me. Where is my that one? And I will do that again. The great thing about that, just demonstrated through the demo God's Not Smiling on Me, is buttons in the ribbon are now app specific. That's a really great feature.
Yep.
I
That is really cool.
That's a great feature.
Yeah.
So that was a long frustration of many moons of working in Dynamics applications where if you
Yep.
mess with the ribbon in one place, it messed with the ribbon everywhere. Now it's
Everywhere.
chaos.
Yeah. Took
So
something away and yep.
make sure you use that modern commands rather than the old one. Anyway,
Yep.
so here's our button, case note review.
All
We
right.
have our individual here, and
Yep.
all this button is doing is passing the ID of this individual. Now,
Yep.
a little pop-up comes up, starts thinking. The flow is running in the background. This is a custom page, by the way, so I didn't write any
Yep.
advanced logic or anything like that to
Just
render
some
this UI.
JavaScript to pop up the modal.
Exactly. A little bit of JavaScript
Yep.
to pop in the modal, and then boom. I have
Nice.
all the information on Wilbur's case notes. And then the other great thing is uh, this time it didn't do it. And I guess that's actually an interesting part of how the fact that because it's generative, you're going to get slightly different variances. And that's where
Yep.
you come down to your prompt engineering.
Yep.
But it gives me the summary and it gives me some actions. It gives me things I can
Yeah.
do next. It's really great. You can sit
Yeah.
with a health professional and do this, and it's so
Yeah.
simple, adds value right away. This is a
Yep.
feature that you could do in an afternoon.
Yep, yep, and I mean the possibilities are endless, right? Because we are hooked up to the Power Platform, so we've got our summary, but we could, yeah, let's say this is somebody who's getting ready to run out the door to make home visits. We could start
Exactly.
texting them with the summary or creating activities in a plan and doing all kinds of stuff in the background with this. This is just the start, but I mean this is amazing. So you could really go crazy with this.
Exactly. This is one of those little low-hanging fruit examples. I will
Yeah.
just show
But
the
again, you think like the hours that healthcare professionals spend combing through the notes, and then
exactly.
times things get missed because you're a busy healthcare professional, and you try to scan through it quickly, and being able to just very quickly get that summary. That is amazing.
Exactly. And honestly, between that prompt probably was the longest thing. It took maybe
Yep.
45 minutes to an
Yeah.
hour.
Yep.
That flow would have taken 10 minutes. And then the JavaScript, I of course got Copilot to write for me, so I didn't even write any
Nice.
code. And
Nice.
then I added this button in the ribbon here in about
Yep.
20 seconds or whatever it takes.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yep.
so this is the modern ribbon editor just to show you the components. So it's running a JavaScript function, OpenAI, open the dialog. That's it. This is the custom page. Again, barely any components. I've got a little spinner to
Yep.
add some flair and then a
Yeah.
label and some text. That
Yep.
label I probably don't even need. And then, of course,
Like it.
oh, I had my JavaScript somewhere, but that's okay. I'll show you it at the end.
Yeah.
So the JavaScript,
But you even got the
very, very,
Copilot to write that for you. So
yes, exactly. I got the
yeah.
Copilot to write that for me.
Yeah,
So
so all the kids at home, there is no longer an excuse to say, "Oh, I'm not technical," because you don't have to be anymore. The Copilot is technical. You just have to bring the stuff together.
exactly. And all we're really doing, like this looks scary, but this is less than 50 lines of code to make that
Yep.
pop-up happen, which is really goes to the extensibility of the out-of-the-box client API that model-driven
Yep.
apps provide. You add the name, you add some options on how big you want it to be, done.
Yep.
It's really great.
Way better than copy pasting off Stack Overflow.
Exactly. It would be much cleverer and more catered to you.
Yep. Yep.
So then moving on, let's say now we want to write a case note for Wilbur. So now this is data entry. So rather than
Yep.
consumption of data, this is just one of
Yep.
those little examples of how we can optimize and make more
Yep.
efficient the
Yeah.
entry of data.
Yep.
So
And
we
this
click
is
on
where most Power Platform CRM implementations. This is where they tend to really bogged down in the change management because people are, I don't want to have to do that, or I'm used to doing it this way, or it's a bunch of clicks and blah blah blah. And so, yeah. So, anyways, I'll shut up now. On with the show. But this is absolutely amazing what you're about to see.
no, so that's great context, right? Like for example, in our application, we have all of these different activities that create structured data around the recording of a
Yep.
particular event, whether that be
Yep.
email,
Yep.
goals, we got phone calls, text messages, so on, so on,
Yep.
so on. And of course, people's default behavior is to put everything in a case note.
Yep.
Everything.
Yeah,
That is
make it
just
easy for me. But we have all this defined data because this is really important. We get rich reporting. The problem is the data analysts don't sit in the shoes of the person who has to enter these notes and activities all day. And the person entering the notes and the activities doesn't care about the reports that the data analyst is doing. So,
exactly. And so
yep.
how can we make an application start to guide your people, start to help them
Hmm.
think about the things you're
Yeah.
trying to, make them think about?
Yeah,
So,
this is an awesome question. I love it.
let's see if this will work. Let's say text. So hopefully something will happen. Here you go.
Yeah.
So
Clippy popped
here,
up.
here is Clippy, exactly. So for I think 20 seconds or so, Clippy will tell you, hey man, it looks like you're creating a text message activity. Perhaps you want to use that instead.
Yep.
You're in a case note. Using the right activity really helps keep the data of the system tip top and makes whatever that said next. So
Now, is that an in-app notification that you popped up, or is that something else?
this is custom code, which again,
Okay. Yep.
in terms of what we did think about when I was doing this, and I wanted to demonstrate it, is very much you might want to send a notification through here, which
Yeah.
is likely to
Yep.
be potentially a bit easier. But I just
Yeah.
wanted to have
Only
something that
the only downside is there is a little bit of a lag with them, and as opposed to that custom code that popped up right away, the in-app notifications is a bit of a lag, and they might just, yeah. But this is amazing because you're basically guiding the user and saying, "Hey, do you want to just click the drop down and change that to a choice?"
exactly before you've got too far. And this is
Yep.
like I'm not saying the styling is right or anything like that, but it's
Doesn't
just one of
matter.
those
I mean, this is
examples where
amazing.
yeah, you could have an alert pop up at the top. You could use the client
Yep.
API to do that. You could have a
Yep.
thing that slides out from the right. You could have a custom page pop up. You could do all sorts manner of things.
Yep. Yep.
And the beauty of this is it is a flow with 3 steps in it, and it is one prompt.
Love it.
That's it. And
That's
all of that
amazing.
text, so that text isn't rendered or anything. I do nothing to render that text. I get the
Yep.
output from the prompt and put it straight on the screen.
That's
And
amazing.
this is just one of those really small, easy
Yeah.
things, especially like a lot of people don't think about these things in model-driven apps and model-driven
Yep.
forms, but it's just a great way that we can make it truly data-driven. And of course,
Yep.
you can think of all the possibilities from here, right?
Yeah.
Let's say rather than just a warning, it goes, I'll take you there. Let's
Yeah.
navigate. I'll
Yep.
copy your data across, all that sort of stuff. And
Yep.
that's where you can use the prompts to start steering down different Power
Exactly.
Automate
Yep.
pathways potentially. You could have a plugin that triggers based on that,
Yeah.
all sorts of really wonderful things. And
Yeah.
it's just one of those small examples. So
Or we could even just have a generic activity type that they type into, and then in the background, off the back of
totally,
that, we create the text, we create the phone call, whatever it is. So
exactly.
yeah.
And again, I mean, stuff like that, it's inoffensive. It
Yep.
doesn't put AI in the face of your customers like that. They don't even have to know that it's generative AI.
Yep.
But we are making prompts and we are making the typical components of the Power Platform
Yep.
work for you. And again, this is just one of those
Yeah.
little things where it's a tiny bit
Yeah.
of JavaScript, a prompt,
Yep.
and some flow. It's using a model
Yeah.
behind the scenes, and we create those great experiences. And
Yeah.
so here's just to show the text that made that up. So you can see that I've said
Yep.
here are the types of activity that we want.
Yep.
I pass the type of activity that you're coming from. And then, of course, you can tell it to say specifically, always
Yep.
use this message. And so you can
Yep.
see that that message that showed up on screen is exactly this. And so
Yep.
the magic of what that means is my flow is so simple. It has 3 steps in it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. To create
Amazing.
that little experience, that little
Yep.
snippet of value. And because
Yeah.
to some people that might be huge value. And all it
It's
passes.
massive. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, it's crazy. I'm going to get on the soapbox for a minute because, I mean, firstly, it's low code, right? We didn't write we really didn't write a line of code, except for that the pop up. But
Yeah,
there's no code, which is awesome and near and dear to my heart. But the user, their life is the same, right? You're not asking them to learn how to do a new thing. You're just
exactly.
saying, hey, let me make your job a little bit easier. And then, I mean, this just opens up just massive possibilities. So yeah, I'll get off the soapbox now. On with the show.
Oh, totally.
But
I
this
mean,
just blows my
I'm already
mind.
on the soapbox. I'm already on the soapbox. But
Yeah.
that's it's just such the beautiful thing of
Yep.
how much you can help prompts guide your
Yep.
application. So you don't need to be a software engineer. Just be thinking,
Yep.
maybe there are 3 different pathways that I want
Yep.
to have the application go down. And
Yep.
because these generative models, these large language models are so nuanced and they're so great at reasoning. So
Yep.
long as your prompt gives sufficient context and sufficient information, the prompt can start deciding which path of the application it goes down. Now, there's obviously a little bit of risk in that, but if you create the right parameters, you can create such beautiful data-driven experiences
Yep.
through an app that a person barely even knows is happening. So again, that prompt that we had, it's just the one that I had on screen. It spits back the text, and then I just respond that text through the API straight. And then, of course, straight up, that's what renders on screen. And just to show the, all this is, on the summary field, I just put a little on change thing.
Yep.
It's got this little handler. All the handler does is take the text straight out, feed it to the flow. Bob's your uncle. It's really nice and easy. And again, I totally use ChatGPT. I am an engineering professional. I've been a software engineer. I started in C++, but I totally got Copilot to do all of this for me.
Yep.
And all it is getting that value using the client API, feeding it to the flow, and then getting a response back. And then this little display suggestion function here with the suggestion it received from the flow response, we render in here. And I didn't write this function. Again, this is less than 100 lines of code still. I didn't write this function. It did it for me. And it's just, it's just basically create a little element, put the suggestion, done. And it's just really cool. And so imagine, of course, you might have links, you might get the flow doing more, you might get it actually taking the user off their page. But again, we're trying to be inoffensive, we're trying to be subtle. So start with this. Maybe someone goes, after you show them something like this, I wish it did this. Boom. There's you're on. That customer's ready for AI. You start going. And that's just those easy, nice little, very gentle, I wouldn't say penetration techniques, but introductory elements and introductory features that help people get used to it.
Using Gen AI to make people's lives better, and then, you never know where you're going from there.
Exactly. So now we're coming into the man himself, the expertise. I didn't even mean to do this on the day, but here we are today. So Loco plugins.
Dataverse Accelerator.
Dataverse Accelerator. So Loco plugins, again, the disclaimer is they're pretty finicky. I managed to break this whole environment a couple of times, but they are where they're going is some really magic stuff. So let's say, and I got Copilot to fill this all out for me as well, which is another wonderful thing. We've got this very, very detailed referral. So someone has created a whole bunch of stuff and filling this out.
Just a disclaimer, this is test data. This is not a real patient. This is not real data. This is totally fictional data.
Yes. Copilot wrote this all for me and then made sure it always gives its little disclaimer saying, make sure you don't include this. I was like, yes, I got you to write this for me. Anyway. This is all made up by Copilot, but really, really, it's a great way for test data for those who are really interested or slightly more on the code path. Getting Copilot to write demo data for you in conjunction with dummy generators in C# or PowerShell or whatever you're into is really powerful stuff, but we won't go there today. So we filled out this whole thing, and then a really easy way is maybe when I click save, I wish there was this additional information, the summarization down here. And so I've already got that there, but an easy way to make it so people don't even notice. Again, perhaps people are even resistant to a little pop-up. Perhaps they're even resistant to having that summarization. How can I make it so their day-to-day, their typical filling out of any other form that they're used to is suddenly enhanced, is suddenly that little bit easier? This is the magic. So if I click this and click save, my demonstration isn't quite working because I couldn't get the summarization to work.
That's right.
I may have to apologize for my internet. See if the demo goes.
There we go. Ooh, and we got a summary.
So you got a summary.
But, so is that a cut? So that save button, is that the out of the box one, or is that a custom one that you?
Totally out of the box. I have changed nothing. This is, I haven't even, I literally went into Dataverse Accelerator, clicked some buttons, and then here we are. That is where Loco plugins are going, and so that's some real awesome stuff. But the beauty is, so I'll quickly show on screen now. This is the amount of PowerFx that made that work. But
that's amazing.
The key thing here is this function, this AI summarize, which isn't working right now.
That one yet. Yeah, I need
to. I can't demonstrate it properly. I mean, I probably could, but I'll break everything. And for the sake of our demonstration today, we won't do that. But this function is totally. Whoops! I put something in the wrong place. Tells me AI generated stuff makes mistakes. There you go. So this function, while I couldn't get it to work today, is available, is supported, is there, even while it's in preview. And these AI summarize PowerFx functions are just basically running the out-of-the-box prompts. So you can't get it to your own prompt yet, but because, of course, this is generative, baby, we can make it happen. You can add to that. So, of course, one prompt gets fed, and your prompt is the parameter, but you can tell it. So I say, here's the start of the extra context for my prompt.
I love it.
Please take the information I pass you. And this is all just in PowerFx. And then,
Yeah.
of course, you got to say end of
It's
extra
just a
context,
string. Yep.
just a string. And then I pass it. These are the fields
Yep.
straight from the form that got
Yep.
affected. Boom, boom, boom. And a
Yep.
big old concatenate. And then
Nice.
it sets that field, whichever one I said, mag comments,
Yep.
which is this one down here, to be that summarization. And I
Nice.
didn't write any code. I didn't register a plugin step. I didn't do anything.
Yep.
Boom. And just
Love it.
there's so much more you can do with this. As Nathan's
Yeah.
actually shown, if you follow him on LinkedIn, if you see any of his other YouTube videos, they there is a million. You can have, well, you can have quite a number of out of the box connectors used in this plugin text, in this
Yeah, you can
PowerFx
go a bit
text.
crazy with them.
So you
Yeah.
really can go crazy. Follow Nathan on LinkedIn to see his adventures, but you really can create amazing stuff using AI summarization. Plus, again, like our previous diagram, coming back to here, pulling data from a whole bunch of places.
Yep.
You can use low code PowerFX, something as nice and easy and familiar, to create something awesome that
Yeah.
is just so subtle but
Yep.
magic. You could
Yeah.
have this be more obvious. It's at the bottom in this form for
Yep.
demonstration, but you could have it on the right hand side. Maybe you got two columns and it just gives you the summary,
Yeah.
for someone else. And because this is entering the data is one thing, but
Yep.
a clinician might have given all this context and then
Yep.
someone else comes along, that clinician's long gone, the patient's back, and we need to
Yep.
know. Boom, there it
Yep.
is.
Yep.
Just in such a nice way. Again, I can't wait for this to come out of preview and start having everyone use it in anger. But the fact that right, even in preview, when this
Yeah.
AI PowerFX function is there, you can just, I mean, the possibilities are crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I haven't played with that one yet, but yeah, stay tuned. I'm gonna get hands on with that one and see what kind of weird and wonderful stuff I can concoct with it, because this is just too cool for words. I'm blown away. I mean, yeah, yeah, just the fact that we, a couple PowerFX expressions, we've used Gen AI to summarize a bunch of different string fields on our table in the model driven app. And bearing in mind, we can pull in stuff from other tables as well, assuming that
Exactly. Exactly.
that it's an end-to-one relationship and it supports it. And then we can use this to trigger all kinds of other stuff using either other low-code plugins or Power Automate. I mean, we're yeah, uh, limitless potential here.
Limitless.
Yeah,
And so that's kind of the wrap on the as I say, oh, I have one more thing, but that's the wrap on just, the tools we have available today with a whole bunch of resistant customers. Start thinking, start creating,
yeah,
whether that be, this is all just as accessible through pro code plugins for your
yep,
C# guys. But let's say you don't have that, boom, you can get started
yep,
today with
yep,
database
hundred
operations
percent,
just
hundred
using
percent.
this. And custom pages, again, like, it's just so simple. A thing I can plug as well is, because the prompts are effectively connectors themselves, you can call your prompts straight from a Canvas app. You don't need to use Power Automate. I've used it as a
Yep,
mechanism of
yeah,
abstraction, but you can do whatever you like. Here's an example of just another one of those cases in
yep,
terms of data driven.
yep,
Is now, let's imagine we put the prompt into the hands of your clients,
yep,
but in a safe, constrained way,
yep,
in the hands of your organizational members, of your customers, whoever else.
yep,
And this little text box, all this is basically doing is removing and concatenating onto a string.
yep,
And that string is then, this is a very, very simple example, but
yep,
the string is adding in each of these categories that we select and
yep,
then creates a prompt, helps the person create the prompt,
yep.
which then you can engage with through chat or whatever else. So it's just, again,
So
in terms of,
you're creating you're creating the prompt for someone else to then go and engage with. So using Gen AI to create the prompt so that the user can then take the prompt and engage with Gen AI to
yes,
get answers, do stuff.
it's Gen AIception. So we're effectively
Yep.
saying the the prompt is driven by the app. So basically, if
Yeah.
you're thinking about this bit, this
Yep.
prompt is empty and it just takes a parameter. But what
Yep.
we've done is we've created guardrails. So we've said, click on these things depending on
Yep.
what key bits of information you need to know.
Yep.
And then it just removes and adds from a string, which
Yeah.
is then sent to the prompt. And then, the subsequent step would be, okay, now that generates our summary based on what we selected. Oops, got
Yep.
that wrong. Anyway,
Happens.
starts to do that. And then
Yeah.
you can start engaging with I mean, in this example, this is I shamelessly stole from one of my colleagues, but
Yep.
it creates the summary, and then you can start chatting with the summary. Maybe that's something you guys aren't ready for. You
Yep.
know, maybe they are. Maybe that's something cool. But it's just an
Yeah.
example of how you can create guardrails around these prompts and
Yep.
use the power of the prompts with a little bit of your own engineering. Let's say you've thought about
Yeah.
all these prompts, you make it easy, and then now there's variability. So
Yep.
there's variability with comfort. There's variability with
Yep.
things that you have put nice, careful
Yep.
constraints around, and it
Yep.
empowers without overwhelming people with having to think of their own prompts. Really cool
Yeah.
example from my
Yeah.
team.
I like it. Yeah, because it is very difficult to come up, particularly the first few times you do it, to think about what you want it to do. And as you play with it over time, you start to realize, okay, if I tell it this, tell me it like this, do it, include these types of details. But yeah, your average person isn't going to think of that. And so if you just say, hey, I need to know these three things, give me a prompt based on that. Yeah, it's
Exactly.
you've made your user more productive and you've helped them love it.
Totally. Exactly. And exactly.
Yep.
We've helped them to love it. That's the key thing. And this is a bit of a cynical presentation, if you will, because we've assumed that people are resistant. But
Yep.
in most sectors, tech savviness is still a real problem.
Yep.
Everybody's seeing AI on the news.
Yep.
How can we make it so that they don't go, oh, this is just some gimmicky crap that's going to be gone in another 5 years? Boom.
Or it's Skynet and it's coming to replace me.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want to fill them with that fear, so we just help them
Yep.
be more efficient.
Yeah. No, I
So
love it. I
that's
love it.
just those are all the kind of low code examples. I'll jump into the more pro code elements. This AI plugin at the moment only works with Copilot, so it works through
Yep.
chats, but Microsoft is definitely going to make this available elsewhere. But here's a really
Yeah.
cool new tab in the context of a custom connector. So this is the connector we wrote to engage with Tawatura's NHI API. And you can use this tab, this AI plugin preview tab, to give it a really descriptive name and description and all those types of things. And then what happens is you tell it, okay, this API call,
Yep.
you give it a ton of description, you tell it
Yep.
exactly what it gets and receives and all that type of
Yep.
thing. And the generative AI will crawl this information that you provide. And all
Yeah.
you need to do is ensure that you give it ample context, give
Yep.
it lots. You've got another, one of these actually. I will go to this. A great thing here from Microsoft on how to best describe things and give a
Yep.
good prompt. But this is just an amazing way of, let's say your
Yeah.
company's written this little custom connector, and
Yep.
now we can make it so that generative AI can decide when and when not to use it. Amazing.
Nice.
And all you
Yeah.
have to do is make sure you tell it really clearly what to do. So this is
Very
only
cool.
available through being called through Copilot.
Yep.
Troy did a great presentation on that, but
Yeah. No, this looks suspiciously like custom connectors in Power Automate to me that they've added some features to. Looks suspiciously familiar, but this is very cool.
okay. So yeah, AI plugins, man, it's
Yep.
getting crazy. So this is coming, but just to get people thinking, how can I help AI understand when to use my API? Then from there, of course, we have Azure's OpenAI Studio. You do have to go through a few hoops to get this in your environment, but I've created
Yep.
one just to spin it up. I didn't
Nice.
actually have to write any code for this, so I'd almost say this is low code just in Azure, baby. I heard a guy,
Wow.
a guy I was engaging with who gave this great phrase, click ops, which is
Yep.
like DevOps but clicking. So we've created this environment. I mean, sorry, this instance, and all I did
Yep.
was click. You click on this, go to Azure OpenAI portal. Boom! I'm presented with this, and
Yep.
here is a magical thing. So again, I think Microsoft 365 Copilot is probably going to do what I'm demonstrating here, but just to get you
Yeah.
thinking in terms of what you can achieve. This is something I fed all of our documents related to a previous RFP
Yep.
into, and then I just said summarize the RFP documents you can see, and it gave me that, and it of course, as Copilot does, it added these references. Then how about prepare another one for a different customer? Boom! It comes up
Yep.
with a little nice executive
Wow.
summary, quoting all of the things it learned, for better or worse.
Yep.
By the way, if you do a really crap RFP and
Yep.
you ask it questions, it's going to remember all of your crap stuff.
Yep. Yeah, so
So
it's totally garbage in, garbage out.
garbage in, garbage out. But you can contextualize it. So you can
Yep,
say, correct us where we're wrong. Make sure you bring
yeah,
in the latest features of Power Platform. I said here,
yep,
try to modernize elements that we may have used old terminology for in the Power Platform. So they're really, it's really a limitless stuff. But for your pro code guys or low code guys that are just curious, I
yeah,
uploaded this just by adding my data. You just click upload, you drag and drop, all your files
yep,
go there. It does it all for you. It's really great. And then hold on, more magic up in here. You can deploy this model, which is basically like an RFP bot, so to speak,
yep.
straight into Copilot Studio. Boom. It'll create a
Nice,
Copilot for me. Or I
nice.
can make it a web app, which automatically creates the app service for me.
Yep,
You don't even have to know. Really,
I
really cool
love it.
stuff.
I love
Pro
it.
pro code context, low code execution.
Yeah. And you could so you could take your RFP responses and you can you could classify them in terms of the ones that you've won, the ones that you've lost, and you could then start to get some insights and say, okay, give me a response, but only based on the winning ones. Yeah, look for commonalities in our losing ones, that type of thing. Anyone who's ever had to prepare an RFP response knows that this will save you weeks and months and years of your life. This is
Exactly.
amazing. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's exactly the one. So from that, depending on your comfort, there are a bunch of really, really excellent GitHub places that have samples on them. So these are all, Microsoft 365 plugin samples that are accessed through Teams. They have these really cool catered bots. Even if you just clone it, copy it, deploy it, just to get an idea of what's possible. Don't worry about the
Mhm.
code. There's a lot of really great stuff. Microsoft provides you so many awesome examples of things. OpenAI samples for using your own data, quick starts, stuff like just these are more basically of ingesting a bunch of GitHub data and then spitting something out. This one is like a ChatGPT kind of thing. All that stuff, it's all on GitHub. It's all free. It's all available. These links I will give to Nathan to put in the video,
Yep,
but
I'll
it's
pop it in the comments.
pop it in the comments, like and subscribe. But yeah, these are really great. They're a little bit pro codey, but man, even just like talk to your engineering teams, they can probably break it down and make it easy to understand. And if you don't want to do that, no worries. Just keep engaging with prompts and the low-code tooling you're familiar with, and you can create some magic anyway. The
Yeah.
last thing I'll cover, and before I close off today, is since, as Nathan said, Eric Renier and I were the ALM fanatics, and we remain that. So at Whanatahi, we have, I like to say, world-leading ALM practices with Power Platform.
Love it.
But
Love it.
one of the key things we'll show is, first of all, boom, there's your plugin and PowerFx
Yep.
expression right in your
Yep.
solution. Magic. But equally, all of your AI prompts are still solution elements. So you can see right here,
Yep.
activity suggestions. You can see case note summary. It adds a bunch of stuff, which I think for those that are interested is really good to know. The fact that
Yeah.
behind the scenes, it's a custom API. It's a
Yep.
bunch of custom API parameters.
Yep.
There's
Yep.
the AI model is an important element. And then a bunch of these AI plugin and AI plugin operations. Really interesting to know, but
Yep.
all I did was add existing AI model, prompt, boom,
Yep.
done. And
And it adds
it,
all the other stuff in.
it adds everything in for you as part of your solution. And then, of course, using the pack CLI, which I can't talk about enough, you get all of your AI plugins as part of your solution, part of your repository. You can manage this using Git, of course. You can
Nice.
track changes, you can do pull requests, and it's all there. Your model description is there, your prompts are all here, the whole prompt. So you could even customize your prompt from code if you wanted to be really crazy,
Wow.
but it's all there.
Very
You can
cool.
see all the elements, and it just means that, again, even for prompting, there's no excuse not to manage all of your stuff like a proper DevOps champion, which
Nice.
maybe one day I'll do another talk on. But I
You
do
totally
love
should. You totally
do
should.
love applying DevOps principles to
Yep.
Power Platform and low code solutions. Ain't so hard, trust me. And here are some great examples of all of that stuff. Everything we looked at today being managed, properly governed, properly checked, everything.
Yep.
So thank
Yep.
you very
So even
much.
though yeah, even though it's low code, the grown-ups are still in charge. We're following proper ALM practices.
Exactly.
Yep.
But you can make it easy. You can make it easy. And of course,
Yep.
with low code pipelines now and all their other
Yep.
stuff, the ALM accelerator to plug some of the stuff PowerCat's doing, it's really
Yeah.
great. it'll make it easy. A lot of this stuff will probably get abstracted away in not too long at all.
Yep.
But for those that are interested, it's good to know these nuts and bolts. It really helps. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, now, mate, you should definitely do an ALM video on this sometime and just go through the different solution components. I've done that with low code plugins, and I've found that, yeah, you get a really good response in terms of it just helps people understand all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, because that is really helpful.
totally,
So
and even I mean, again, to plug, we have been able to convert a lot of just purist code's not for me. I've been a
yep,
functional consultant for 20 years. This is all
yep,
crap. And
yep,
as soon as the light bulbs start going, oh, I see, oh, and oh, I see that helps us deploy. Oh man, our managed
yep,
changes are much easier to track. Boom,
yep.
magic happens. But telling that
Every
story is its whole own art, and I'll
Yep.
do it on another day.
Yeah, you definitely should. Everyone's a closet dev. That's my. We're all
Exactly. Oh,
closet devs.
totally. And that was a great thing Microsoft said at the boot camp, which I wish everyone would come to next year, 2025. It'll be the better year.
Yep.
Uh, there's no such thing as a low code dev, a pro code dev, or a citizen dev. We are all just devs. And I like to use the word engineers because
Love it.
we're all engineering solutions.
Yep.
There's no such thing as all these camps.
Yep.
Fusion teams are just made up of smart people from different backgrounds with diverse ideas, but we all create. We're all engineers, we're all devs. So
I love it. We're all artists. Yeah.
we're all artists. That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Isaac, mate, this was brilliant. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm just like, um, yeah, I can't wait to get this one out on YouTube, because I know a lot of people are going to get some value and be really inspired by this. I have been. I'm going to get building, and yeah,
Prompt engineering. We're all
prompting,
prompt
prompting.
engineers.
Yep, prompting. Getting particularly with that AI summarize and low code plugins. That's one I haven't played with, and I am keen to get hands on and start doing some wild and wonderful stuff. So
Awesome. Awesome.
yeah,
Wow.
cool. All right, well, thank you so much, sir. And I know that this is going to be the first of many videos that you will be doing, and hopefully you and I will do together, because
Hope
this was a
so.
lot of fun.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me. I
Yep.
always appreciate
Yep.
spinning some yarns, telling some
Yeah.
tales, and showing some cool things.
Absolutely. All right, Isaac. Speak soon.
Thank you very much,
Yep.
Nathan. Cheers, man.
Bye. Bye. Okay, I've just stopped the recording.